Hello everyone, this is Carla. Glad you're stopping by my channel today. I have 4 projects to share with you, and I also have a video of something that I make to sell in my booth, and I thought maybe some of you might consider this. It might be an inspiration for you to sell in your booth. Then I also took a short video of one of my booths. Now this project is going to be a little floral arrangement made from this little box that I picked up at an estate sale for a couple dollars. I'm using some floral foam that I've had in my stash. In fact, everything that I'll be using are things that I've already had, except for the daffodils and that little box that I said I thrifted. Now, the little bunnies I got at the end of the season sale last year at Hobby Lobby, and they have the sweetest little faces. I think I got 2 sets of them, and one of them I have to keep. I just love their little faces. Now, the little cabbage rose that I put in the corner, I purchased that from Amazon probably a couple years ago. It came with like 6 of them, I think. And the little lavender sprig, probably at Walmart. I found a lot of those last year at Walmart. And these little fern sprigs I picked up at the Dollar Tree. Now I'm just placing those kind of randomly around the cabbage rose to kind of build a background. Then we're going to take these little lavender sprigs and put those upright around the ferns and the cabbage rose. Kind of fill in that corner a little bit. Make it look kind of like wildflowers and springy. I pulled some carrots from my stash, and I just didn't like the bright orange, but I thought I could make them work if I maybe took some dark wax or something and put over them, but they were also a little bit too large. Here I'm taking daffodils. I love these daffodils. These remind me of when I was growing up. As I've said, in a small rural town, everybody had daffodils coming up in the spring. And these were the 2 colors that, you mostly saw, and these smaller ones like this. And I don't want those to stand up too tall because I don't want my bunnies to totally get lost in here, which they will be hiding just a little bit. That's what they like to do. They like to hide in the flowers and in this green moss we'll be adding. Trying those carrots again. Too big, too orange. They're huge compared to my bunnies. So I thought I'll try these. These are small. I thought I'll take those apart. Well, found out these don't come apart, and I really wasn't that crazy about the stripes on them anyway. So here we go with the fun stuff. All right. If you've all worked with this, you know what a mess this can be. So what I have done, I have started kind of placing that in my trash can that I have sitting right beside me, and I will open it and pull from it while it's in the trash can, and that does alleviate some of it getting all over the floor, but you're still going to get it on your desktop. I just don't think there's any way to avoid it. Here I'm just kind of filling in, and if you remember, the floral foam did have some spaces where it didn't fit up real snug, and so I just wanted to fill that in and make that more firm. I wanted to maybe use those pink flowers, but they just didn't get it for me. They didn't fit in. They were too large. And here I'm using some sprigs left over from another arrangement I made. These kind of remind me of some kind of a fern. I don't know what it is exactly, but I wanted to kind of lay that on the bottom and kind of nestle one of my little bunnies in there. Oh, look at those little faces. Oh, they're so cute. Cute. And then I'm taking another sprig to kind of put in the back there by my daffodils. I'll be kind of bunching those out. Oh, tried those. They were smaller, but just wasn't getting it for me. And here I had a sprig that had these really pretty little kind of like frosted leaves and little pinkish florals that I kind of put a couple of those sprigs kind of around my bunnies because I thought they needed, they needed to be hidden just a little bit because I have cats and I have to be real careful in spring when I let my cats out because baby bunnies don't do well with cats, but we have rescued several. Not this year. I don't know if they've decided not to have babies in our yard this year, but we have had to rescue a few, and then we'll try to get them to go over to the neighbor's yard. Over here, we're getting our flowers all nestled in the way we want, and I found this little Easter egg garland in my stash, so I thought I'd pull out, just about 3 of those and nestle those in around my bunnies. If I can't have carrots, we can have Easter eggs. Now later on, I did hot glue my bunnies and my eggs in because they would fall out fairly easily if you toss that little arrangement around very much. And here I had some ribbon, some Easter ribbon in my stash, and I decided just wrap that around the box, and I'm going to tie a little bow. I'm going to try to get it where all the print, it's not double-sided, is going to show when I get my bow in place. And I thought about maybe putting a carrot in my bow, but that wasn't going to work either. So I've just decided the carrots aren't for this arrangement. Here I've got my bow together, and I'm working with it to get it to lay the way I want it to. Then I'm simply going to take my scissors and dovetail the little streamers coming out of the bow and arrange that so it looks nice hanging under the bow. Now I'm going to take my hot glue gun and just secure that bow up toward the top of that box. And I think this turned out really sweet. Okay, now there's a story behind this vase. It is a large tin vase. I got it probably a couple of years ago and started on it. It's been painted several times. I haven't liked it any way that it's turned out. I added the birds and the embellishments in between the birds with some air dry clay. But the tin vase itself, if you can see, had some embossed flowers on there, and they were very subtle, but still they were there, and I wasn't sure how to deal with that. So this year I pulled it out and thought, all right, we're going to do something with this tin vase. So I added a coat of I think that is the Victorian lace, and I painted it all white and thought I was going to go back and then do some painting on the birds and flourishes, but no, I didn't like that. So I decided I'm going to add texture. So I took Folk Art Parisian Gray chalk paint, and I added some Sea Spray by Dixie Belle. It's a texture additive, and I thought, all right, we're going to cover this vase with all of this textured paint. And my original thought was, after that, I'm just going to add some kind of wax and make it look like concrete. That was the the final the final decision I thought that I was going to make with this vase. Now the birds came from the Sparrow's Nest mold by IOD, and the flourishes came from an IOD mold called Acanthus, Acanthus. Acanthus. maybe, I'm not real sure. So after that texture gets on there, I'm stippling it on to make it, you know, look textured, and that always helps to do that. I want to also make sure, like, if the clay, when it was drying, if it raised up any and had some spaces between the molds and the vase, I wanted to fill that in so it didn't look like it had holes in it. All right, we're completely dry, and I changed my mind again, and this time I am really liking my decision. I decided to use oxidizing bronze paint. So it's called Modern Maduro, and I got it off of Amazon, and I gave it a coat of the oxidizing bronze paint, and I had also purchased the blue and green patina aging solution. Now, when you're doing this procedure, this process takes 2 coats of the bronze oxidizing paint. The first coat you let dry completely. When it's dry, you add the second coat, and while it's still wet, you begin spraying on either your blue or green patina aging solution, or in my case, I decided to use both. And let me tell you, I really saturated, but in retrospect, I should have probably turned the vase up a little earlier in this process, and I should have, like, under the handles and around that kind of ledge, I should have made sure I got more spray on that, because I think I got more around the bottom than I actually did up there, and you'll see what I mean when we start drying this. So here we are drying it, and you can see it changing colors already. When I flip that back over, you'll see at the top where it is not a lot of the patina there, but we kind of fix that later. What I'm doing now is I'm taking some Spectrum Noir metallic bronze wax. I'm going to go over the rim and a little bit on the handles with that. And I'd already painted it gold on one of my painting excursions. I don't remember when. I've done this vase a lot of times, and I'm liking this bronze on there. But then I thought, you know what? I'm going to take some black wax by DIY, and I'm going to add a little bit of shadowing in there with my brush and kind of wipe it back. And I think that gave it some depth. And I kind of brushed that on some of those places that didn't get a lot of patina. And then around the top, it kind of had these little, I want to say grooves, but they're not grooves. They're raised places where it kind of look like stripes up there. And at the base of them, I kind of took some black wax and put that around the bottom of those to make those look a little bit aged, and kind of wiped all that back. Now I'm taking some of my gold. This is the Gold Art C wax that I use a lot. Here I'm filling in a little more black. I just put all kinds of things on here, and I really think it turned out really pretty. I was really pleased with this after all of the attempts I had made to do something with this. And even if the embossed flowers do come through a little bit, it looks fine. I think it just looks like part of the texture on there. So here it is, all complete. And I added some florals, and I tied this little, it's kind of like a cheesecloth around it, but I actually think if you had a small rope, like gold tassel, that would look really pretty around that. Now this is a little planter that I thrifted, and I only paid $2 for it, and I thought I would give it a makeover. So for this, I'm using some of my Sculpey air dry clay, and I'm using some molds from IOD. I'm using the Sparrow's Nest mold, and I'll be using the olive pressed mold. I'm using Tight Bond Ultimate Wood Glue, and I'm just going to place these little flourishes at the top. I decided I wanted it to come this way instead of the other way, wiping some of the glue off. I do that on all 4 sides. And I had first thought I would put a bird underneath that, but they were a little bit too large, so I went with the smaller nest from the Sparrow's Nest mold. No, actually, I went with the nest and the birds. I wanted them to be different. So I put the nest on 2 sides, and then I put the little bird, the smaller bird. I was thinking the winged bird was too large. And now I'm going to take some slick stick and I'm going to fill in, because this is a pretty slick surface and I don't want all my paint to come off, so I'm going to put that slick stick around there and let that dry completely. And then you can see the cup where I had the textured paint from the night before on my big large vase, and I had put water in that last night because I didn't want it to dry out, because I knew I wanted to add texture to this little planter. So what I'm doing now, I'm adding the chalk mineral paint from Dixie Belle, and it's called Weeping Willow, and I'm just mixing that up. I'm gonna add a little more of that, and there's enough of that left overnight, and it did not dry out because I did add the water. It's thick enough that if I stipple that on, I still get a good texture from that. So I applied that to all 4 sides and the bottom of this little planter. And as I'm stippling, you can see the texture that's going to come through, and get the bottom painted. And we're going to let that completely dry. And after that completely dries, I'm using DIY white wax, and I'm adding white wax to all 4 sides and wiping it back to give it a little bit of a soft look. And it really is very pretty with that Weeping Willow green. Now I'm cleaning that wax off of there a little bit, and I'm going to take some Folk Art metallic gold paint and paint the little feet on the bottom. And then for the sides, I decided to use some of my Artsy gold metallic wax. And I'm going to add some little accents with that on the flourishes, on the nest, and on the little birds. I'm liking the way this turned out. It turned out very sweet. You can see that texture and how that white wax just really brings that out, and the gold accents really make this a nice little piece. Now this little piece of wood, I think I shared this in my thrift haul. It was a piece of wood I got in a basket full of things for less than $5 because it was on sale. And it had a little residue on the top, so I took my little finger sander and sanded that all off. And after I cleaned that all off, I'm taking some Paint Couture mineral paint. It's self-leveling, it has a built-in primer and a top coat, and it's called Caribbean Coral. And I wanted to do something bright. I wanted to have some bright colors, and this is a beautiful bright color. So I let that dry, and I actually started looking at some of my Catarina blossoms and wild bloom, and I thought I was going to use that on there. But then after I let that dry and I put on another coat, I started thinking, oh, what else have I got that might be brighter? And I remembered that I had this traditional pots transfer from IOD, and they have blue, black, and white transfers in there. So I cut out a white one. I thought I'd use that. And then I pulled out my packet of lemon drops transfers from IOD, and I thought that would look nice on there together. So I decided how I wanted to place those on this little wood piece. And I took the white one and placed it on. Now you really want to make sure your paint is completely dry before you add a transfer. In the past, maybe I have rushed things, and if your paint isn't completely dry, your transfer is going to pull the paint up, and you're not going to get the transfer to stick. So make sure it's completely dry, and then start applying your transfer. Just simply use that little tool they give you and press it on and peel it off. Now on the side, I didn't want to lap that over, so I wanted to trim that off with my little scissors. I wanted to keep it clean on the side. Sometimes it looks really nice to wrap it around, but this one I wanted to keep clean. Now I'm going to take the lemons from Lemon Drops, and this just looks perfect on here. I just love the way this coordinates and goes together. Here I'm doing the same thing, taking my little tool, pressing and kind of using my finger to lift as I press, and then if anything isn't adhering, I'm right there and I just lay it back down and go right back over it. And you get a nice little transfer that way. Now be real careful when you use your carry sheet to burnish it, because I've had times where I don't know if I have it on the wrong side or what, but it wants to kind of pool and it's a little sluggish on there, and I'm afraid I'm going to tear the transfer off. But sometimes if it's a small, especially on the gilded gold ones, I just use my finger to press it down. Here I'm going back and just stressing off some of the places where my paint was there. Now this is going to be a little shelf sitter. Clean that off good. Now because it is a transfer, even though the paint is self-leveling and it has a primer and a top coat in it, it's self-sealing, we want to go ahead and seal those transfers. So I'm using Dixie Belle's Clear Coat Satin, and I give that a couple of shots. I think you only see me do one, but actually where I put that white transfer, I kept looking at it and thinking, you know what? I think some of it's missing. So I found my carrier sheet, and there were a few little letters that were supposed to look distressed from the transfer itself, but they had totally not gotten on there. So I went back and laid it on there and transferred those on, and then made sure I went back and sealed those in as well. Here I'm just going over the sides just to give it a cohesive look. And I think this little shelf sitter turned out really sweet. Okay, here it is. I make cards for my booth. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Anna Griffin. She is a pretty famous stationery. She sells a lot of her products on HSN. I had the chance to go to one of her Create conferences in Atlanta, Georgia one year, and she can't, well, that was the year before COVID hit, and then she didn't have them anymore. Now she does them at home. But anyway, HSN features all of her products, and at the conference she has this huge scrapbook of archival antique prints and pictures and textures, and that's what she uses as her inspiration to make all of these pieces of ephemera. Now this year her Easter ephemera was more towards, I would say, a juvenile what I want to say, genre maybe, and they're really cute. They really are. But she makes some exquisite things for old world, Victorian. And I'll be sharing some more of my cards with you. This year she also gave us some flocked paper, which the purple Easter egg and the layered little chick up on the left, and some of the Easter eggs I've added in. She also makes those rub-ons that I have put on the inside. These are from some of her older prints there, and she has lots of dies and embossing folders, just everything you can imagine. I sell my cards for $5.50 a piece, and I sell quite a few. I really do. And I have friends who like to buy them from me on like seasonal occasions or birthdays. I only make cards, like I make birthday cards, I make sympathy cards, and then I make what I call seasonal cards. Occasionally I might have a special occasion card in there, but usually for sympathy and birthday and the seasonal ones, they sell best for me, and I would rather focus on something that I know people are going to be looking for than just take a chance on, well, for one thing, buying all the supplies for it. I mean, her supplies are top notch. They really are. And I'm not making really much on my cards, but I enjoy making them and other people enjoy them. So that's why I make cards and I sell them in my booth. And it might be something you might consider. Now here's a very quick picture of my booth. I was trying to keep it under a minute. I wish I would have taken more time and I could have talked to you about more of the things. You can see some of the things in there that I have made on my videos, and many things have sold already. That's the only little mini floral I have left. All of those have sold. Oh, there's one actually. There's two left. I think I made 7 of those. And one of my He Is Risen pictures has sold. My little bunny picture sold. My church picture sold. So I'm just enjoying my booth, and I decide I need to get, my Easter things in there. Easter is just around the corner. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and join me again next time.